This has got the crowd on the edge of their seats. Happy Clappers, 5 in front to Egg Tart. Now Bowman just starting to feel for Winx coming around the turn. He doesn't want to get too far away. Happy Clapper comes up the rise, 4 lengths clear. But Winx, she's really starting to hit top gear now. 2 lengths away. Happy Clapper under the whip, 2 in front. Bowman says, come on, girl. Winx moves up on the outside of Happy Clapper. It's a race today, but no longer. She starts to draw clear for a world record of 23 Group 1s. Winx by 2 lengths to Happy Clapper.
All right, welcome back to the Racing Rundown podcast, episode number 5. We got a lot on this show today, recapping a weekend of upsets and chronicling what's going to happen this weekend. A lot to get to, of course, on the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks Trail, but I want to start off with number 31 in a row for one of the top 10 greatest racehorses of any continent, any time, any surface, whatever. Winx is just something else. I mean, we knew this before this weekend, and this 2019 year for Winx, really, it's just kind of a retirement tour year. She doesn't have anything left to prove. She now has set another world record, 23 Group 1s, which are the same as Grade 1 stakes here in America. It's just a different term. But 23 Group 1s, more than any other horse ever. 31 consecutive victories. A record in Australia and a record in the United States. I'm not sure what the records are in some of the other places. I know there's one horse that I think won 52 consecutive. But regardless, 31 is amazing. Winx is an all-time talent. And if she runs in the Breeders' Cup Turf, or in the Breeders' Cup Mile, Breeders' Cup Filly Mare, whatever Breeders' Cup race she would run in, it would be special. But even if she doesn't, she's going to run 2 more times at the very least. Enjoy these last 2 times, because Winx is something that you probably will never see again. It's just the way that she wins races. Like the one that she won this weekend, she came from far back in the field, and down the stretch, Happy Clapper, the horse that ran second to her, was under the whip. And Winx just is running up next to him. Her jockey isn't even doing anything. She's just doing this all on her own. And she just runs by him with, I think it was 100-something meters left in the race. I don't know what that is equivalent to in yards. But she just runs right by Happy Clapper with whatever it was, 100, 200 something meters left in the race, and it's just her jockey is just sitting there, he wasn't riding her hard, she's just letting her do it herself, excuse me. And you see great horses do that a lot, like Secretariat. I don't think he was ever hit with the whip during the Triple Crown, and very rarely in his life was he. But I mean, looking at Winx from a pure talent perspective, I think Winx is the best female racehorse in the world, in any division, any continent. Like I said, the best female racehorse since Ruffian. That's the only comparison that I have to Winx. All right, so that's it for the talk of Winx and the 31 consecutive wins. Let's shift back over to America, and let's first talk about trainer Bill Mott and how he did not have the weekend he expected to have this weekend. Very disappointing for him, and it was also a very disappointing weekend for Jaywalk, the champion 2-year-old filly. But we're going to start with, of course, Hidden Scroll. He was the buzz horse. He won his maiden race by 14 lengths, and people were starting to ask, is this Justified this year? And you really can't expect to get something like that. What Justified did, and I have a piece that I wrote about Justified that's going to come out next week. I'm going to publish it next week. When I said that Justify is basically a horse that we'd never seen before. I mean, we've seen horses win the Triple Crown like Justify did, but the way that Justify did it, and then the way that Justify just up and retired, has never been seen before. So to expect to get something like that from Hidden Scroll is unrealistic. And that's why I should be posting my Power 10s on Twitter more often, and I'm going to start doing that this week. But I ranked him as number 10, and I probably should have ranked him higher. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't buy him going into the race, and the two horses that I was looking at was Vekoma and Code of Honor. And I picked Vekoma over Code of Honor because Vekoma was unbeaten, and really that was a poor decision to make just looking at the undefeated record. But I was really thought that, or I really thought that Code of Honor had a chance to run a good race, and I thought Vekoma was going to run a good race. And both of them ran good races, but Code of Honor won the race and put himself back in the spotlight, if you will. And Hidden Scroll, Bill Mott is not a trainer who likes to rush horses, and Bill Mott's never won the Kentucky Derby before, so this is just shows that Bill Mott is the type of trainer that is going to do what's right for the horse and not what is going to get him the most notoriety. And like I said last week, Bill Mott is him and Richard Mandela and Steve Asmussen. They're the three great active trainers that have yet to win the Kentucky Derby. And I think Bill Mott, looking back on it, kind of wishes that he didn't rush Hidden Scroll right into the Fountain of Youth. Because Justify did this last year. Justify won his maiden by 9.5 lengths. Of course, it wasn't as dominant as Hidden Scroll's maiden win, but Justify didn't run against stakes competition immediately. And I don't think, even with the amount of talent that Justify had, that he would have been ready to run against stakes competition in his second race. And Bob Baffert waited until the Santa Anita Derby to run Justify against stakes competition. Not everything is lost for Hidden Scroll, though. He did get 5 points toward the Kentucky Derby, which, 5 points are going to do you absolutely nothing. Actually, I forget whether it was 5 or it was 4. He either got 5 or 4. An insignificant number of points, but it is points. But Bill Mott said he is being pointed to the Florida Derby right now, and they said the Wood Memorial and the Bluegrass are still on the table if they need to push him back another week. But, he may or may not get to the Kentucky Derby, but I don't think Hidden Scroll at the moment is the super horse that some people thought he was going to be. Now, sticking in Florida, the other top race that was that weekend was the Devonna Dale Stakes for 3-year-old fillies, and that was the Fountain of Youth equivalent for the Kentucky Oaks. And it was the debut of Jaywalk, or Jaywalk's 3-year-old debut, I should say. And for Jaywalk, she was awful. She just looked flat in the race. She had no juice. There was nothing in that performance. It was the textbook example of a clunker. And I made the video about the 2-year-olds, and I said, before I anoint them as anything, I want to see them run before I pass judgment on them. Because they can be great 2-year-olds, but we've seen too many times great 2-year-olds not pan out as 3-year-olds. So, it's a setback for Jaywalk. And Jaywalk is going to have to run better the next time she runs. I don't know when that's going to be. I think John Service said he's not concerned. Of course, what is he going to say? Yeah, I'm super concerned that my filly ran a terrible race. Trainers don't say that. The horse could finish last and they'll still say, I have every confidence in the world in them. Jaywalk, this is very concerning if you are someone who likes Jaywalk. Now, I'm not going to say that she's done and that she's not going to succeed, but it is a sign that maybe Jaywalk is going to land on one of those. She was only good as a 2-year-old. Now, one more point of note before we move on to the racing this weekend. Another horse in the Bill Mott barn that had been previously inactive until this weekend, Mucho, ran a very nice allowance race, and he's back in the winner's circle. And we'll see what he turns out to be, whether he's going to go to the Florida Derby or we'll see where he's going to go. But Mucho is another horse to look out for. And then Bill Mott's got another horse running in the Tampa Bay Derby this weekend, Tacitus. So we'll see what happens with trainer Bill Mott's crew, whether or not he gets a horse to the Kentucky Derby. I think he'll get to. I think both Tacitus and Hidden Scroll will make it. My pick for the Tampa Bay Derby, is Tacitus. I'm taking him over Well Defined, the local horse who won the Sam Davis. But Tacitus, I think, is not an amazing horse, but I think he has the credentials to win the Tampa Bay Derby. Now, before, like I said, I'm keep pushing off getting to the San Felipe, but we also got the Gotham, the return of Knicks Go, and I think this is the race that's going to determine, and I'm at least going to use this as my determination of whether or not Knicks Go is legit or just ran a couple of good races like some horses can do, and he deserves to be a not high long shot, but he doesn't deserve to be among the favorites conversation. But the thing that's funny about the game winner improbable duel is that it's literally everyone is fleeing Southern California like rats from a sinking ship. Instagram went to New York under Jerry Hollendorfer. Jerry Hollendorfer actually said, "We're not ducking anyone." I buy that about as much as I'd buy someone saying that Secretariat is not a top 10 racehorse. Because, I mean, there's no reason why you would go to New York. So you can tell me all you want that you're not ducking and that this just works out better. No, you don't want to run against both Game Winner and Improbable. And it's not just him. Desmond, Bob Baffert's horse that was second to Sparkyville has shipped out west. I know Galilean is going to run in the Rebel Stakes and not in the San Felipe. And then Mucho Gusto is also running in the San Felipe. So it's literally Southern California has been vacated by the Game Winner Improbable matchup. And now we'll finally get to that. The San Felipe is going, this edition of the San Felipe is going to be probably the most exciting since the Silver Charm Freehouse duel in 1997. And like I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago, this is something that is very unusual to happen. This hasn't happened since 2016 when Nyquist and Mohayman ran against each other in the Florida Derby. But it's very unusual to see two top 3-year-olds, especially in the era of the points when there's only a very limited amount of points and you really essentially have to win races to guarantee your spot in the starting gate. It's very rare to see top horses like this run against each other. But I mean, I will give credit to Bob Baffert. He's not pulling punches. And I will say Jerry Hollendorfer's got Gunmetal Gray in the race. I don't buy him for 1 second. And then the other two horses, Extra Hope, Easy Shot, I have no desire to even look at them. This essentially is a match race, and I can guarantee you if you're going to put an exacta on this race, it's Game Winner and Improbable, and if you're going to do a trifecta, Gunmetal Gray will be third. I can pretty much guarantee you that. It's going to be Game Winner, Improbable 1-2, Gunmetal Gray third. And this race this weekend will really be the judge of which of these two highly touted horses. Improbable, I believe, I don't know the exact talent, but I believe Improbable probably got votes for champion 2-year-old. So these are, right now, the two best 3-year-olds in the country. So I think this race is going to show us what Game Winner is and what Improbable is. And it will probably show us which one is the better horse, because there's not going to be a lot of horses in this race. So I don't really think there's going to be an excuse for either horse. If it was a large field and something happened, there would be a chance that you could come up with some kind of an excuse, but I really don't think there's going to be a lot of excuses in this race. I don't know what the weather in Southern California is going to be, but I don't think the weather is going to be that much of an issue as a determining factor. So it's really, we're going to see. Oh, and just a quick note before I talk about the Santa Anita Handicap. Super Steed, the winner of the Southwest Stakes, is off the Derby trail. He will not be running in the Kentucky Derby anymore. He won't be contesting any races in the prep season. He's out with some kind of an injury. They said he just needs rest, but that's really it. So Super Steed, long shot winner of the Southwest. I didn't buy him that much to begin with, but Super Steed is out. Now, in addition to all the stuff with the San Felipe, like I said, we got the big cap this weekend, and I think the big cap is going to help us answer a question of which of the which of the older horses in this country is going to emerge as the leader. And we've got two big horses right now in the big cap, McKinsey and Gift Box. McKinsey won the Malibu Stakes in December of last year, and then lost the San Pasquale to the late Battle of Midway, and then Giftbox won the San Antonio. Giftbox actually did beat Battle of Midway in the San Antonio, for what it's worth. But the older horse division this year has been decimated, first of all by the death of Battle of Midway, and then also by City of Light's early retirement. Bravazzo, Wayne Lucas's second place horse in the Preakness, is out of the Dubai World Cup for now. So the Dubai World Cup is really not going to have a lot of horses that I would consider highly regarded. And I'm not going to recant this at this point, but I said in the intro episode that I don't want to hear anything else from Gunnevera. Gunnevera could very well be the top older male horse in this country. He could win the Dubai World Cup. Audible's also out there, and then you just got to see what happens in Dubai. Thunder Snow's running again. Thunder Snow might try to defend his title. I really don't know what the Dubai World Cup is going to be. When that gets there, we'll see. But like I said about McKinsey, I don't like McKinsey at greater than a mile. A mile and under, I love McKinsey. But at distances greater than a mile, and even at 9 furlongs, I like McKinsey. I love McKinsey at 8 furlongs or less. At 9 furlongs, I like him. I don't love him. And then at 10 furlongs, which is what the big cap is, I don't like McKinsey. I don't trust him. So right now, from what I've seen from McKinsey in the past, I think the big cap is right now in Giftbox's corner. But there's also the thing of McKinsey has a tendency to run one good race and then run a clunker and then run a good race and then a clunker, which is what he's done the past couple of races, even going back to the Pennsylvania Derby. He won the Pennsylvania Derby, then he was 12th in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He won the Malibu, then he was second in the San Pasquale. Now, I will give him a break in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was close to the pace, and it really wasn't a good position for him to be in. But that being said, I just don't trust McKinsey going greater than 9 furlongs. Now, before I sign off, I just want to address what's been happening in Santa Anita. That's a big problem, and they need to figure out a way to fix it. Another horse died this weekend that's 20 in 2 months. Santa Anita, they got to figure out something to do with this. This should not be happening. But I will say the racing community has been very, very, I don't really know what the word is, but they've all been very, I guess I'll use the word classy with Battle of Midway. A lot of people in their NYRA top 10 poll and in NTRA polls, whatever, have been putting Battle of Midway 1. Like, I know Matt Shipman said that he is leaving Battle of Midway number 1 or number 2 as a tribute to him, and he said that he's going to keep doing that until greater performances supersede that. And I know a lot of people have been doing that, and that is a great thing to do. Battle of Midway was a great horse, and I think he was going to do great things in 2019. And it's unfortunate that something like that had to happen to a horse. And, like I said, this is a money business, and Battle of Midway had been retired, and because he failed at stud, he was brought back to the racetrack. And, usually what we get with this, the money is wherever they're going to go wherever they can make the most money. Usually that is pulling them off the racetrack too early. And, the 2 most recent examples of that are Justify and City of Light. They were able to make more money in the breeding shed that they would be able to make on the racetrack. But Battle of Midway, when he was a failure at stud, was given back to Jerry Hollendorfer, and he was in training, and it looked like he was going to have a monster 5-year-old year. And then the incident at Santa Anita happened, and unfortunately, Battle of Midway could not be saved. So it's unfortunate that this is happening. Santa Anita is going to have to look into the problem. I think they will correct it. I hope that they will correct it. But like I've said before, and I don't know how many times I've said this on the actual podcast, but horse racing is a money business. And the horses are going to go where the most money can be made. And unfortunately for Battle of Midway, that was back to the racetrack. So I know that was kind of a bit of a sad note to end on, but this is the end of episode 5. Next week we will be back with the recap of hopefully a great matchup in the San Felipe Stakes. Remember, you can subscribe to this podcast and get it wherever podcasts are found. In addition to subscribing on iTunes and Spotify, you can also subscribe to the Racing Rundown YouTube channel. We are currently going through the A Case for Racing Immortality series, taking a look at each of the candidates for the Horse Racing Hall of Fame and evaluating their credentials and whether or not they are worthy. In addition, you can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter, on Instagram at Racing Rundown and on Twitter at Rundown Racing. Have a good week, and if you are playing any of the races this weekend, good luck.
The favorite as they turn for home. Less than a quarter of a mile to go in the Fountain of Youth. Hidden Scroll digs deep, but Code of Honor blows past, and Code of Honor is on to the front. Hidden Scroll trying to hold on to second. Here's Bourbon War unleashing a big run down the center, but Code of Honor is going to hang on to win the Fountain of Youth 3 parts of a length.